Today we will going to talk about a Latin American nation. This country is in the news because of its unprecedented presidential election result. The country I am talking about is Colombia, which is on the northwestern side of South America. The country always been ruled by either conservative or moderates or center rights or right. But in this year elections, everything changed in the blink of an eye. This year Colombian population chose the center first leftist president Gustavo Petro, who used to be the member of Colombian guerrilla group called M19. The president-elect Gustavo Petro beat his millionaire real estate businessman rival Rudolf Hernandez. Rudolf Hernandez was the former mayor of Bucaramanga. With all votes counted, Mr. Petro, the 62-year-old former mayor of Bogota, win with 50.4% to Hernandez 47.3%. Mr. Hernandez, who is 77, accepted the result, in which he came up short by 7 lakhs votes. In this presidential election, just over 58% of Colombia's 39 million voters turned out to cast a ballot. The Petro's vice president will be Francia Marquez. The Marquez is a prize-winning defender of human rights and environmental rights. She will become country's first black vice president. South and Central American politics is witnessing a tectonic shift after the subsidence of COVID-19 pandemic. South and Central America is also facing several challenges including COVID-19. These two regions always had drug-related problems. Because of that, this region is poor and isolated from the world. People of these regions are getting lesser opportunity because of lack of proper government will. People of this region and the Colombian population are just surviving. They are not living their life properly. Colombia is the fourth largest economy of South America as measured by gross domestic product. This country is the second largest crude oil producer in the South America next to Ecuador. It also exports much of its oil to the other nations to earn forex. Petroleum is the Colombia's main export, representing over 45% of Colombia's export. Its share on its GDP is 10%. Not only the petroleum industry, Colombia has the fastest growing information technology industry in the world and has the largest optical fiber network in Latin America. But still, 27% of Colombians are living under the poverty level or at the poverty level, which is very concerning for a large economy with a moderate number of population. And this scenario is almost same for every country in this region, including largest economy of South America, Brazil. That is why every country in this region witnessing regime change. Recently in April, Costa Ricans elected to the presidency Rodrigo Chavez, a former World Bank official and the political outsider who took advantage of widespread discontent with the incumbent party. Last year, Chile, Peru and the Honduras voted for leftist leaders. Also in Brazil, the politics is swinging. Former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is leading the polls for this year's presidential elections. Left leaders are being voted in power because they are showing hope to their disgruntled populations. As a candidate, Mr. Petro has energized a generation that is most educated in Colombian history. But this educated society dealing with 10% annual inflation, a 20% youth unemployment rate and 40% poverty rate. Many of whom feel betrayed by the decades of leader who had made grand promises but delivered little. Some applied for the Colombia's former president Ivan Duque. His presidency marred by several corruption charges. And Ivan Duque's failed presidency helped Petro to set the key election issues. As I said, Colombia is struggling with rising inequality, inflation and violence. There are factors that led voters in the election first round last month to punish the long-governing centrist and right-leaning politicians and pick two outsiders for the runoff contest. Although Colombia's per capita income grew from 1,400 in 1990 to 6,700 by 2018, and the country joined the rank of OECD in 2021, a club of wealthy economies. The Petro has promised a radical rehaul of Colombia's economical model by promoting environmental activities. He had pleaded to ban oil exploration, open-pit mining and fracking, despite the Colombia being the second largest exporter of petroleum and oil in South America. Petro has also vowed to fight inequality with free university education and pension reforms. He plans to impose oil tax on large landholders and repeal the liberalized labor law. Petro is willing to resume talk with Venezuela, which was halted by former President Ivan Duque. The former president did that because of heavy American influence in Colombian politics. Colombia has been Washington's closest ally in this region for decades. But the elections of former guerrilla president to the country's highest office could change that relationship. Although Petro said that he intends to renegotiate Colombia's trade deal with US, he also plans to open dialogue around the three main issues: the protection of Amazon rainforest, ending the war on drugs, and moving Colombian economy away from extracting projects like fossil fuels. His future conversations with US President Joe Biden are likely to be tough, with two leaders dramatically opposed on issues such as relationship with Venezuela. But two presidents might still find common ground in the areas such as environmental protections and energy transitions. The Petro will find the ways to have the chat with US counterpart Joe Biden because Petro has allies in Washington in the form of socialist Bernie Sanders. The Petro has signaled to hold the talks with its Chilean communist counterpart Gabriel Boric and Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez. I have already mentioned that the leftist Petro was from the dark history of M19 rebel group. The group formed in the response of unhappiness over the unrepresented groups in the country's 1970 elections. They were also known as the 19th April movement. In local language it is known as Movimiento 19 de Abril. The group is responsible for violence and unrest in Colombia. In 1980, M19 stormed the Dominican Republic embassy and took 52 hostages, including 15 ambassadors. In 1985, they stormed Bogota's Palace of Justice, leading to the deaths of more than 100 people, including nearly half of the country's Supreme Court justices. Members of the group took hostage over the palace and held Supreme Court hostage, intending to hold the trial against then President Belisario Bentancur. The Supreme Court President Alfonso Reyes Ensadia, who died in the siege, pleaded in the telephone calls to a Bogota radio station for a ceasefire and the dialogue with the rebels. But things went ugly, and the result is in front of you. The group is also responsible for stealing a sword, which belongs to South America's liberator Simon Bolivar. The sword of Simon Bolivar was used in Colombia's battle for independence from Spain. The Bolivar who freed much of the South America from Spain died in Colombia in 1830. M19 stole the sword in 1974 from Bolivar House, the patriot's former residence in Bogota. M19 promised to return it by December 18, 1990, but the group found itself at the center of a political storm when it was unable to keep its pledge. The sword was rumored to have passed into the hands of infamous drug trafficker Pablo Escobar in return for the favors granted to the M19. The M19 group was demolished in 1990 after a peace deal with the government. The President Petro was once a member of M19 guerrilla movement. He was granted amnesty and jailed after being arrested in 1985 from illegal arms possession. His jail term lasted for 18 months. According to Mr. Petro, his political awakening came when he watched his father to weep over the death of Argentinian revolutionary leader Ernesto Che Guevara. The 62-year-old senator also credits the 1973 military coup that ended the rule of Chile's socialist president Salvador Allende as a reason to enter the politics. The Petro's jail term, because of his involvement with M19 rebel group, have created fuel for the critics. But Petro said that he is ready to mend his relationship even with its dreaded political critics. The Colombian President Petro has an additional problem regarding the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, popularly known as FARC. FARC is a Marxist-Leninist guerrilla group involved in the continuing Colombian conflicts starting in 1964. FARC is being funded through the kidnapping, ransom, illegal mining, extortion and taxation of various economic activity and the production and the distributions of illegal drugs. The Colombia is the world's highest producer of cocaine. The FARC is the main distributor through the Mexican cartel into the United States. So, controlling FARC will be challenging for the new Colombian President Petro. So in my view, we are seeing changes in Colombia in the favor of communism. But communism should not turn Colombia into a socialistic economy. The urban Naxal like Petro may be good for the present Colombian situation, but too much communism will hurt them like it hurt the other economies in past. The greater example is USSR. The Colombia should not close their economy in the name of economic protection. They have to mix their economical ideology like India did. Maybe communism do not support the open economy, but hybrid could be the best for them. But from the Petro's voice, something is very clear that capitalism will not be followed, and because of that, their representations with the progressed and the progressive economies will be disturbed. Now the questions. The first question is, which nation does not share boundary with Colombia? The first option is Bolivia, second is Ecuador, third is Peru, fourth is Panama. The second question is, what is the official currency of Colombia? Bolivar, Soberano, second is Sol, third is Balboa, fourth is Peso. So this is the end of the topic. If you have any questions regarding this topic or any other inquiry regarding anything, then you can mail me to my email address, which is tuhin.power.academy@gmail.com. If you found my topics informative, then please subscribe my channel. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.